to figure out a way to rewrite the narrative so that success in business is companies that actually do good and make money and are stakeholder centric rather than shareholder centric. Like, it was like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I was like, yep, that's my thing. That's what I'm going to do.
What made this most important to you? Like, why was this such a big deal? So if we go back 10 years plus, and then what was it always this way for you? Like, you were always for this, or like, what was the point that you're like, you know what, I need to stand for this. Like, this is important to me. Like, do you remember a moment, or is it an evolution, or what happened?
Yeah, I've always had the sense that in order to lead a life that I felt would be meaningful, I needed to do something to help. I didn't know what. And so like when I came out of college, I entered the nonprofit world. I worked at the Environmental Defense Fund for a while. And it was at EDF. They have what's called a corporate partnerships program, where they were the company, they were working with McDonald's to incentivize them to get rid of their styrofoam containers. They were working with Walmart to incentivize them to put solar on the roof. They go into companies and they figure out market mechanisms to incentivize companies to be good actors. And I would study this while I was at EDF, and it was a bit of an evolution, but it also kind of felt like it clicked one day, where I realized the story that I tell myself in my worldview is that shareholder-centric capitalism is the reason why we have so many of the problems that we have on the face of the planet today. Like, if you follow the thread back, it's that, like, I have to do it because of the shareholders. I'm going to disregard all of these negative externalities of pollution, of treating people like shit at work, of all of the things that we do in the name of business that is making it so people are miserably depressed, where there's pollution everywhere. We have socioeconomic divide. I mean, there's so many problems that can be traced. The thread goes all the way back to shareholder-centric capitalism. So I was like in my mid-20s when I had this like, oh my God, like that's the thing. So I went and did my MBA and studied that, and knew that I wanted to use business as a force for good in some way. I feel like it's the largest aggregator of human potential on the face of the planet. It's the place where we spend the majority of our waking hours of the day as adults, for those of us who have to work. And so, like, to figure out a way to rewrite the narrative so that success in business is companies that actually do good and make money and are stakeholder centric rather than shareholder centric. Like, it was like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I was like, yep, that's my thing. That's what I'm going to do. And I plug into it in all sorts of different ways, but that has become the thing that I know is my life's work. It's what I want to work on.
It's so beautiful. And it's interesting. And that's why I asked the question, because it's so interesting how we all find our way into this sector. Like for me, just to share briefly, it came from like watching my father work for a big company and then pour all his life in, and then me even being like, hey, what about me, kind of thing. There was that what about me, because I'm like that kid and I'm like, where's my dad? And so there was a little bit of blame that I've let go of now as I worked on myself more, but I like blame big companies. And then I didn't want to be that. So then that's how I became entrepreneur. But then I kept using the same practices and found myself working my butt off to build it. So it was like working so hard to not work, and that doesn't work. And so I had to go through all this stuff. But always the intention was to, treat people well. And I was always looking for a way to have a better life. So, all these things about, that's why this is called More Business, More Life. It is like, okay. And that is to attract those that are seeking that abundance, but we can do that while we're taking care of people. And so our mission is to have folks work less than 40 hours a week, have more revenue for the company. Actually, we've even broken goals and records doing this, and then pay everyone more, and then have everyone take more holidays. And in doing this, those companies, just like you're saying, started having crazy results. Like, we even had a client in the last year before COVID-19, and they did, and we have clients prospering during this whole pandemic. But last year, one thing, we had a company go from 5 million to 9 million in 18 months. And then their staff, one of their staffs was a guy had tears coming and he hugged me and he said, I never made over 100 grand. And now I bought a house for my family. So like everyone was making more, the company's making more, everyone's taking more holidays. And it's, the thing that hit me the most is like when I worked with the CEO and they started taking more time off, and it was after a period of that transition, I checked in with him and I said, how's it going? He's like, Steve, it's amazing. I just got back from another holiday. I'm getting so much time for myself. I'm making better decisions. I feel smarter. Like everything's working out. I'm not making as many mistakes. It's like awesome. And then it's like, well, hey, what would it be like if all of your staff had the same feeling? And then the light bulb goes off. Oh my gosh, I want them to be that recharge, because so many, like you said, it's like this grind for all. And I do agree that it's this, it does point back to these bigger companies and the stakeholders and the way that they do, and they're grinding. And then it's like a power drill that has no battery left and it's trying to work instead of, hey, let's recharge and then be smarter. And so I definitely, I'm about all health, right? The environment, like if we're sucking in toxins and we're eating garbage food that is all polluted, that's not going to help our energy level. And if we're working too hard, that's not going to help our energy level. So I'm hugely passionate about this. So if someone out there is listening and they aren't taking these actions, with all the things that you've seen now, like what are the first steps? Do you have like a first step for a company that maybe is like saying, you know what, I do believe in this, I've just been scared to take action? Is there something there?
Well, I call them the conscious curious. It's like a whole segment of the population. And I mean, I guess I'll just say the thing, because I have a thing that is helpful for such a human being. I literally have a class called Conscious Business 101, and it is for those people who are conscious curious, who want to take the first step, who want to understand what conscious business is, what are all of the kind of reasons why you should do this, what are the first steps you can take, you can do that. So I have a class, so I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But then the other things that I would do, I would start looking at some of the industry groups out there. There are people who are doing just fabulous work, who are putting out incredible content about this. Social Venture Circle is one that I would look into. You can like attend a little virtual meeting. You can just kind of dip your toe in it and start to meet some people who are also doing this, finding peer groups of other executives that are also doing it like this. There's Conscious Capitalism, which was started by Raj Sisodia, who I mentioned earlier, who wrote Firms of Endearment. Both he and John Mackey, who's the founder of Whole Foods, started Conscious Capitalism, which is a fantastic 501c3, and they bring together all sorts of incredible executives and business leaders. And there's also B Lab, which certifies B Corps, which is kind of the gold standard right now for sustainable business. So for those of you just kind of wanting to like poke around on someone's website and not have to take any commitment, I would look into those industry groups, and they have all sorts of virtual convenings and meetings, and you can just start slowly dipping your toes in the conscious business water.
It's huge. Thank you for all those tips. And for me, one thing, I know we're good at what we do, like helping folks do more business and all that. So we just made the conscious decision. One of the early things we did is we just stopped working with companies that were hurting people or the planet. And that's it, because that was a huge step. And I started even before I like actually said that out loud. I just stopped. I would be like working with a company, and I'm like, that's not okay, and I'm not okay with that, and I'm not gonna keep working with you. And so I just started turning down the work, and just one by one. And that just felt so right, because I knew I was good at what I do. So why would I contribute to something I wasn't okay with? And that, for me, that was the big first step. And just drawing that line,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we vote with our dollars, and a lot of our dollars get spent through our businesses, our vendors, the people that we choose to work with. That is in fact economic activity. That is, you're voting every time you're doing that.
Right. Yeah. Well, because then you're supporting that, letting that thrive, instead of just, because then those folks that are just business centric, only thinking about money, they're going to be like, oh, wow, I lost customers. Then by default, they'll start to meet the needs of the customer, even if they didn't want to. So that's we hope that they'll see the tide turning sooner than that, but at the very end of the line, they won't be able to do business if enough of us say no, that's not okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey there, I want to give you something really big. It's called Clear Path to Customers. It's the way that we get the right language to get the right client. I like to call them your wow clients, so that you can have more results, more revenue, more raving fans, and more referrals. And I want to give this to you absolutely free. And all you have to do is go to stevenapolitan.com to check it out, or you can look at the description here. We'll put the details there. As always, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.